I have the pleasure to introduce a good friend of mine, a great collaborator I've known for many years, and just a talent, a soul. It's in front of the camera too. Hey, you're the star of the show. Bridget Barkan, New York City. Come on down. First of all, thank you for coming here.
Thank you for. We've been talking about me coming down here for a while, so I'm happy we finally did it.
Yeah, it's been great because it's interesting. A lot of the songs that we created over the years. This is like over 11 years.
Oh yeah. So should we talk about how we met?
Yeah.
Okay. So we met in 2011. Yes, we did. At the Strivers Row concert.
Yeah, poets from Harlem, Carvins and all those guys.
Yes. So I had met LaToya Bennett, who was John. Right. Oh my God, am I forgetting his name? Yeah, John. Yeah. Marcus's wife. So we met, and she brought me in and had me perform a couple of times. And there was one that we did in Harlem, and we met during that show.
Yeah.
No, we met. No, I'm sorry. We met the first time, and that was actually my birthday.
I did not know that.
That was my birthday.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I was actually, once again, just like, oh, woe is me. It's my birthday, and I have no plans. And LaToya was like, come to this concert. And it was so amazing. It was like one of the best birthdays.
It was packed. Like, there were students on the stage.
Yeah.
It was like fire code on the stage, like sitting down, just like.
And I just played. I played two songs, but the second song I played, I went through the chords, and then he led us, and the band just filled in behind me, and that was the first time we connected, and then we reconnected again the second time, and then we just started working. I don't remember how it all started, but I know that he ended up becoming like a mentor to me too, because.
Really?
Yes, because
I thought you was mentoring me.
All right, well, on a production side, because I had been playing with producing my own stuff, because I had some experiences where I didn't get oh my God, that baby's so cute, where I didn't get all of what I needed from the collaboration. So I was like, I really need to just produce my own stuff so that I know how to communicate. And so then we would meet up in like random coffee shops.
The cake shop on the Lower East Side.
And he gave me he's like, okay, bring your hard drive. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna show you how to do this. And then we're gonna do this. And then I'm gonna give you all these samples. And then you got the drum kit. And that happened over years. Like when I was on tour with Scissor Sisters, he'd be like, all right, download this new Logic. And he would just like constantly just totally supporting me. And now after he's mixed many projects for me, added other production to many different things. Also worked when I was working at Carnegie Hall, working with youth in detention.
She got me hired at Carnegie.
I got him hired to produce and mix tracks for the youth that I was working with. So we would write songs in the detention center. Then we would record them there, and then I would send them to him, and he would mix them, and then we'd send them back so that the kids could hear like a final version of their.
And they were amazing because first of all, you put yourself not in danger because you had so much restrictions, but the fact that what I was hearing, it was just like, it was heartbreaking, of course, but you wouldn't know what talent is out there when you think about it until you go out there. And I feel like when I moved
there was
New York,
so many kids that I was like, I would rather hear you sing any day of the week than anybody on the radio, because it was the heart, and it's also the youth in this transitory state. It's like there's so much raw emotion and need, where it's like when you see other artists, they're just like do 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 do, but like when you're in that raw, honest place,
it really made me feel special, because it was like, and leaving New York, and I moved here in 2016, and I worked with the kids here, I felt the same way. Like, it was phenomenal. Like Xavier and those guys, like the first time in the studio, they did a full track, 1 hour, and just a freestyle from it. I was like, I'm not exposed to that a lot, especially when you're like 12, 13, like just barely, So it was like, it opened my eyes even to Lynchburg. So I knew I was like really onto something, and I felt blessed. So yeah, like where we can start off, like I feel like people should know like where your journey started. Like let's start at the beginning, like your dad introducing you to music and your influence, because you have a lot. Like people, you look at her and like, oh, she's just, and then she opens her mouth like, whoa. That's how we all felt. Like literally, You was like, what's going on? It's like, is it AI generated behind it? You know? Nah, it's her. You know, it's her. So explain your beginnings.
So I grew up in Manhattan, like in the heart of the city, like right on 55th Street and 7th Avenue in the 80s, believe it or not. No.
Like my brother, we're going to date them.
I know, I just dated myself. Whatever. I'm holding, I'm honoring my journey. Anyway, so my dad is a songwriter. He wrote for Elvis Presley, Nat King Cole, Leslie Gore, Doris Day. Bruce Springsteen performed his songs. Rod Stewart. So many people. So I grew up in this like super musical household, and people would always be in the house and always singing, and there'd be different actors, and he had managed Bernadette Peters, and my uncle is Melvin Van Peebles, and he wrote a song that was in one of Melvin Van Peebles' his first Broadway show called The Stork, The Waltz of the Stork. Anyway, so I just grew up around so much music, so much culture. I know that Phineas wants me to tell this story because so my dad wrote a song for Luther Vandross and Cissy Houston to sing. It was like a duet, and Whitney Houston was singing backgrounds on the song, and I was in the studio as a little kid with them, and I was playing with Whitney Houston. I had these dolls, and she was playing with me, and I was like, "Will you be my babysitter?" And she was like, maybe when I get off tour, because she like went into her first tour right after I had met her. So anyway, I did grow up around like just a lot of incredible talent, and I started writing songs, like making up songs as a kid, and I got put into the business actually. So, I have one of my first jobs, if not my first, I think it was my first job modeling. I was a baby, and I posed as baby Jesus. Yep.
Publications at the time.
Oh no, it was for decorative wall plates. So it's those things that someone paints it and then they reproduce it, and you see. So I'm on someone's wall somewhere as the savior. And then I went on to do a lot of commercials. I was on Sesame Street.
I knew you was on there. Because
Yep.
Was it Dr. Dre on there too at one point?
I think a lot of famous people ended up being.
Grover. He did something with Grover at the time.
I don't know. A lot of people ended up, but I was one of the little kids that was like, with the puppets and everything, and I did like 7 or 8 episodes or something. So I grew up in the industry. I was, but I was also a city kid. So it's like I had a very active city kid lifestyle. I'm trying to think of other child stories. I mean, I knew Emmanuel Lewis when I was little. I'm like thinking of
what was the most impactful, because you mentioned like Whitney Houston, and like I figured that your dad, like, let's talk about your dad, because
we'll talk about him.
Like before the Ramones and a little bit around Bob Dylan and Jimi Hendrix, like I actually read and heard some things through podcasts and BBC and stuff. Like your dad actually was like one of the pioneers of like psychedelic rock and roll.
Yes.
Like this is like before Jimi Hendrix, like Purple Haze.
He did an album it was like a 4-disc album called Psychedelic Moods, and he made up a band. Like he made up a name, and he just brought his friends in. And what's funny is that my dad did not do any drugs at all. So he was like, psychedelics. He was like, people like this. Like it's a new craze. And so he got all these people in the studio, and he made these crazy albums that have gone as down in history as like some of the first psychedelic albums that happened. Oh, of course. His name is Mark Barkan. He passed in 2020. He was born on July 4th, and he was born and raised in Brooklyn. My grandmother was born and raised in the Lower East Side. My dad was, he got his first job as a songwriter when he was in the Army. And so he ended up...
I didn't know he served.
He was a medic, and he always loved to tell the story about how he got out of going to war. He put on a show. And I forget who it was that was like, we got to get Marcus, or they called him Sonny. We got to get Sonny out of here. So they figured out a way to like get him to not go to war. And I don't know if that's 100% the truth, but because my dad was a fibber, and he embellished a lot. He's very dramatic. Oh my God. He like, would be hit. You believe. Oh, he'd be dancing and he danced everywhere. I mean, he was writing songs till the day before he passed away. He recited a whole lyric to me on the phone the day before he passed, and I wrote it down, and it's called The Other Side of Heaven, and one day I'll record it at some point, maybe here. Yeah.
Let's hope that, because I'm telling you, we was in the sessions, we had goosebumps. I'm not like a touchy-feely guy, I'm like whatever, but when I hear music and I get goosebumps and hair start to do that, that's the right thing to do. Like,
that's it.
Every time like, not to sound like on me, but like every track that I realized got successful, like there was several those tracks. I remember either doing the beats on the train or coming here, and I felt like ooh, and I those songs went and did well. So I felt like every song that we did, like you was just like it was insane. You know what I'm saying? And it's great because we were in the same room creating that experience. And I just feel privileged because you felt like I was a mentor to you. I feel like you mentored me because at the time, this is 2011, like early, believe it or not, I played a lot of gospel music. I played it for Brooklyn Tap, I played guitar, but ironically, I was doing EDM tracks for DJs in Europe, like Ghost Productions and stuff like that. So I didn't start doing like, hip hop until honestly the last 5 years. So all up to that time.
Yeah, we did do a house. We did like a house EDM track together.
So like I mentioned in my Instagram, like Afrojack, he stole one of my tracks. Not stole, but he copied one of my tracks because that track was placed on the Kardashian show, and then like 2 months later, he puts it on his SoundCloud. So I didn't put no lawsuit there, but I have a possibility of that case because of how unique it was. But that was during that whole time, like working with you. And then getting placed. And so it's like you helped me, facilitate that, then just give me a chance because I felt like I was kind of that guy learning and doing those weird sounds.
Oh yeah, you were doing a lot of weird sounds on my tracks because I like my production is very different. Like when I write a song on the guitar, and then sometimes I'm like, oh, I've written the melody on the guitar, but then I like take even Bloom. Actually, I was saying I made like a whole electronic track version of that, and it sounded so different. And but sometimes, so when I make tracks, it's like this other voice, this other sound. It becomes like I go into another world. That's my character, Bright Arrow, and she's like a total like. She's just different. But I always feel like a song, no matter what, my dad used to always say that. He's like, a good song is a good song is a good song. And it can be transformed into anything. You could play it, you could sing it a cappella, you could sing it with just a piano, you could sing it with the drum, you could make anything out of it, And, so it's like whenever there's different characters that I play musically, like the last project I did, was like all acoustic songs, and it was much more folk and ethereal, and it was amazing. And I did it all in this house where I was living in New Hampshire, and he mixed that for me, and I had all this like ambient sound, and
it sounded like straight from like if you listen to WNRN or like NPR, like it sounded straight from there, like from her voice straight to like whatever, you know what I'm saying? You make it very effortless for me to create like a good mix because you know how to position the mic, you know how to
that was also because of your help too. I mean, like literally, if I could I almost like I need to make a list of like everything, because remember when we did the Beatles cover and I made the drums on the little beat machine.
I forgot.
He would always help. I was like, the drums are off, and I'm like, okay, Finestra, help me with the drums. Okay, help me with the bass. I mean, I was making all kind. I did like Kate Bush covers, and I sent them to you. And then
how many tracks we did? We like
we've
50?
Done a lot of different things. And then all the songs from my one woman show. We forgot about that. Like I did this one woman show at Joe's Pub, and I would have these little interludes as well that were like beats that I made and like voices, and like my voice as a child looped. Like there were so many things that I would send him. I'm like, can you do this? Can you send and it's like so many different things. I'm looking.
That's why I love working with you, because it was kind of like still doing some elements of like remixing the EDM, but also I have that, that like because I play guitar and bass.
So
I felt
much instrumentation.
It lended to her in the voice. So so I guess share your process, like, because I know you've worked with a lot of people, you've done some stuff. So like, where do you find yourself when you're working with these people? Like, how do you find your own voice in the noise? Because obviously people are so very suggestive, like, oh, you sound like this, you sound like that. And you told me you did something with Get Down, and like it blew my mind because I actually thought it was like 2 years ago, I was like, wait, this sounds like Bridget, but I whatever. But you do that, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you find your own voice despite everyone wants to kind of like take your voice and like put you in a different look, you know what I'm saying?
You know what? It's like I do say that I'm an actress of music because I predominantly like I am a theatrical being, and I am a chameleon, I'm a creatrix, like I morph into different realms, but but in terms of what you're talking about, where it's like the balance between working with other people, and I mean, I love it. Like a project that I did with one of the bandmates from Scissor Sisters, we did a band called Slow Nights, and he would just be like, okay, this is the track, can you improvise in the voice of Stevie Nicks? And so I would just go, okay, what does that feel like? And then it would be like, here we go again. And like whatever, and like whatever would come out. And then he'd be like, okay, give me Tina Marie. Okay, give me Joan Jett. Okay, do Aretha. Okay, try this, And then it's still me, but it's still like the energy, like calling on that energy. But like for work for hire, which you're talking about, because I did sing for the show The Get Down. I did like a ton of demos for that show actually, and only one track that I was on was I actually credited for. So I was like the voice of Misty Holloway in the first episode, which is like the whole first episode is about this record that they have to get. And so that was like my voice. And I was really honored to do that and work with Baz Luhrmann and his partner, Elliot Wheeler, who has now hired me multiple times to sing demos. So a lot of times as a singer, like there's jobs that I have as like a vocalist where it's like, this is your route, I need you to do this for this musical or for this. And so it's fun for me to play. But when I'm going into the heart of like who I am and the artistry that I it really is about the song more than anything. It's like the song is the character. It's like I stopped putting out albums and just started putting out singles because I couldn't make sense of all the different styles that I had to share. It's like I wasn't just a painter that was painting fruit, like I was gonna paint a sunset, and then I was gonna paint like, a metaphorical, like what I feel like is inside my veins, like I was gonna just do so many different things. So I was like, all right, you know what? This song is like a film, because that's really like, I grew up with TV and film and theater, and music like that. So I was like, this is how I can understand it. This one song is like its own movie. Like this is the soundtrack for this scene. I started just seeing songs like scenes. And so like the project that we were working on, I was like, there were so many different songs that I was building towards coming down to do with you.
Voice notes.
And I was like, what songs really like go together and feel like where I am right now, and so I chose 3 songs that were connected, and there was a lot of times in my life, the same thing I did with my acoustic album too, and so I really do think it's just the language of the song. It's just like letting the song, I think that people who like say, okay, I'm gonna do an album in a week, and then you just have that experience of just what that time period is, who's in the room, the air in the room. There's something really powerful, and a lot of bands really do that. As solo artists, you can, and I think it's just about what you need, too, as an artist. Like, I needed this specific experience. Now, next week, I'm probably going to do something completely different, know?
That's great.
But,
you're able to leverage the possibilities of curiosity, and just you don't feel bound to be in the box. I feel the same way. Like I'm working with you, but then I turn around, I do a country record, I just mix. Then I turn around, I'm doing lo-fi hip hop, and I turn around and I'm doing Afrobeat. You know, and that's kind of, you know, and through that I realized the strong part, I guess, to tie everything in, the power of maintaining relationships, because you understand the industry is very, it's a facade. It's like a lot of people don't give credit to, you know, producers who are women. You know, there's like less than 3%, probably even less than that. And they don't give her a chance, rather for me to see that you are the people who are tastemakers, that they take and manufacture X, Y, and Z artists. How do you maintain, or they call secure the bag, how you maintain the relationships while securing your bag? Because you got so many bags. Every bag is a genre. So if you feel tired of doing country, you could go do an EDM tour or whatever, or work with Todd Terry or whatever. If you're tired doing that, you could just write baby lullabies and all
that's
that
next.
You know
I definitely want to write a children's album. That's going to happen. That's definitely going to happen.
So how do you maintain all these relationships in different industries?
Well, I once told my nephew, because he's a budding musician, and I have a lot of kids in my life, so I'm always like kind of sharing different things, but I once told him like a whole story about how one relationship that I had with one person led to like 5 different jobs in my life, and all of these different people happened to be named David. And so we made this joke. We were like,
you serious? All David?
All David. And he was like, I gotta find a David. And so we made this joke about David, but I was like, oh, David. And I thought about just what David means in terms of like the Bible and the story of that, and how that metaphor has always been with me, actually, where it's like you got to spend a lot of time alone, talking to God, talking to yourself, talking to whatever you think is bringing everything together, and before you can secure the bag in a way. Yep. So I think there's a lot of times where I'm not out hustling. I'm not banging on doors. I think the few relationships that I've made over time, thankfully, keep reoccurring. Like there's one woman that I'll shout out, Megan Courier, who is a music supervisor. She's like one of the biggest music supervisors in New York, if not the biggest. And she got me on a show called Vinyl, and I played a band member. So they hire real singers, they hire real musicians to do all the scenes that you see. And so she hired me for that. You know, I get residuals from that. I did 2 days of work. Then like years later, she popped up. She was like, "Oh, I have a Warby Parker commercial. I need a singer."
Wait, the
glasses. Oh. For it was like when there was like the eclipse, and Warby Parker had these eclipse glasses. So we did instead of total eclipse of the heart, we did solar eclipse of the heart. That was the commercial. And then she called me again. She's like, "Hey, you know, The Irishman, you know, with Al Pacino and da-da-da." And I was like, cool, got paid to work for a week, residuals for years, you know? And then another, and her and I like actually genuinely like each other. So I think that's also what it's about. It's about like genuine relationships, because that falseness will eventually fade. It won't work, you know? But yeah, she still calls me. I did a show on HBO called The Staircase. And she recently called me to do some other silly, like, you know, it's like, I do think it's about sometimes just one person can lead you to so many different projects. And I mean, on the side of like being hired by other people, I think that, you know, I still get paid to perform in New York, you know, and I'm really blessed.
It's pretty hard to
I host a burlesque club, which is also yet again a different hat that I wear.
Securing that bag.
I'm in full like, you know, makeup, glitter, gloves, sequins, you know, but I love it because I talk to the audience, I tell jokes, I introduce all the performers. I wear a totally different hat, which has also brought me other kinds of work. But I think ultimately it's like wherever you are, whatever position you're in, like when I'm just doing a straight acting project, there was a director who found me online from my reel, and he wrote a script where I played triplets, and I played these 3 sisters. We built a relationship. I just shot another short film for him, and he wrote the role for me. And there are these relationships that sometimes are very few that will just consistently. All you
need is few.
You just need a few. You don't need a lot.
That one person.
And they have to feel like genuine and like there's alignment. You know it when it's like you've met a person where you're like, I can build with this person and it's real and it's authentic. And you do have to, you don't want to ever feel like you're like, I've chased people, man. Oh my God. Men and career. And none of it works. It doesn't work. Like even there's someone who I totally respect. And I even messaged him recently because I was like, I see you on my Instagram. I know we should be working together. That thing that we almost did never worked out. Let me just say hey again. Let me just reach out and be like, you're doing amazing work. I would love to be a part of what you're doing at some point. And I'm just saying hello. Yeah. And just like from a really genuine place, And
that's what I was going to say to you. You make it very easy to work with you.
Oh,
it's very easy. It's too you didn't know he was having a field day. We was having a field day. Just, that's a great thing. Now let's talk about with people, because it's easy to work with you, but how do you manage to work with people that are very difficult to work with? Not because they're bad, but they're holding your project hostage, or they're OCDing, or they what they call it, imposter syndrome all the time. And because we've been through that stage, but like, how do you know when I want to help you, and how do you know it's like, okay, I need to take a step back because I need to take care of myself and what I'm doing? Like, how do you kind of create those boundaries, and like where do you draw the line? Because it seems that's the kind of issue that's going on.
Well, I think how you do one thing is generally how you do everything. Not across the board, but I realized once I started paying attention to where I was not keeping boundaries with people, whether I was pushing past theirs or they were pushing past mine, or I wasn't creating like contracts with people, not even like written, but like verbal agreements around what we're doing and where we're going. And that was when I was younger, and that was when I was making a lot of mistakes in terms of how I dealt with business. And I think the more you honor yourself, and the more you nurture yourself, and the more you actually serve yourself and do more for you and not rely on others, not that you should completely be in isolation, because it's like I could be making, which I have been, just making music on my own, and then I would have never come here.
You've been doing it well too.
But like I did have experiences where I felt like I couldn't speak up for myself. I couldn't be like, this project should have been done, and why am I paying more money again? And this song isn't done. Oh, now we're going to record another song. And like just feeling like I didn't have my footing or my grounding, maybe because I'm a woman. I don't think that that's the full excuse, but I do think that as women, we are still growing into speaking up for ourselves, or knowing how. So because it's like we get these, like bossy, diva, all of these, words that go around, where it's really just like, it's how we say something. So even in our personal relationships, I know with my boyfriend, he will be like, I would love to give you what you want when you ask me like that. You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, so there is like a way of like, you get more bees with honey, right? Isn't that a term or whatever? Yeah. But there's like a thin line, because sometimes you need to put a tone in your voice that creates a boundary, and that may shake someone up a little bit, and sometimes they need to be shook. So it's like finding that balance. But I do really believe that the more you go inside, and the more you like do more for yourself and really become sustainable within, then you don't need other people. So that when you invite them into a project, when you invite them into a process, you're really clear, like, I don't need you, I want you. It's the same thing with relationships. So I really think that the clearer I got about my personal relationships was allowed it to be better for my business relationships. And I'm still working on that. Very much so, in terms of how to have partners in my career that I feel can match me and can offer me what I really am worth. Sometimes I still will choose someone or company to be like, oh, because I still like, there's a little bit of like, oh, I'm not there yet, or whatever I see myself as, that I covet, or I hold on to someone that actually can't come with me. They can't get me there. So it's also being aware of saying like, no, I deserve more. I deserve more than this, Yeah,
based on that. And I'm glad we I guess my last thing I'm going to ask you, like, and you know, my wife is here. She knows about this. Like the decision to want more doesn't necessarily mean it. You just, you know, do more where you at. Sometimes it has to kind of push you to separate. That's one of the biggest things I've learned being here, and I'm learning, just seeing the fruits of the obedience, because I had to be obedient to God. Like I couldn't stay home. I couldn't, like, as much opportunities there were. The math wasn't mathing for me at home, and it didn't make any mental sense to me. But all the resistance that were home, it led me to take that biggest risk, because I knew I'm not gonna be on the side of the road. I'm never gonna be like homeless. You know, you lived here. I could have trashed you. I could have crashed your place for a while, whatever. You was here, so I would not. I knew, I was like, hey, if I'm gonna move here, I'm not gonna be in the street. So what am I losing? You know, if she dumped me, what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get a job, whatever. So it's like, so tell me your experience, because you know, I moved here and I was trying to, like, hey, you gotta come to Lynchburg, you know, whatever. It's like, I don't know, the name is kind of weird. You know, it's like,
I didn't say that.
I know, I'll put it over, but I want you to, because as you see, I've been doing this about every month, except for last month. I wish you came last month because it was Women's Month, but you know, we have to take a break. But like, how do you feel about artists, or like just in general, the travel and like leaving your town to like create? Because obviously the examples we had the other day, that was just a pure example. Like how can you just encourage artists to just leave their town? Because I feel like they're slept on.
Oh yes, like, I mean, to me, New York is where I grew up. It's like in my blood. I'm very much a New Yorker, but I am not of the city. Like I am actually I love nature, you know, and so I think it's really important to quiet the mind and be away from the noise. And I think it's just in general good to leave your comfort zone, and it can shift creativity, especially like creating deadlines and like immediacy, like the immediacy of like, okay, we're going to record and I'm only here for 4 days. That immediacy pushes you. It reminds me of when I worked in juvenile detention. I would only be there for a week. And before, when they first brought me in, when I was working with Carnegie Hall, I was there once a week. And what I experienced by just being there once a week, I would have different kids every week. Some kids would go home. Some kids would get into a fight and not be able to come. And it was just kind of like wafty. Like it just never felt like solidified. And so I designed a week program that we were there Monday through Thursday. We finished recording on Thursday. Then Friday we would do a listening party and have pizza and celebrate the week. And so then as soon as we got there on the first day, I was like, okay, this week we are recording one song. And they were like, one song? And I'm like, yeah, but we're all going to be on that song together. We're going to write the chorus together, and then everyone gets their own verse. And then we'll celebrate with pizza. Of course, they love the pizza part, right? But it's that similar experience where I was like, wow, like when you have a deadline and you're just like, we got to go, and we would only have an hour and a half a day. So within that hour and a half, it was like you had to get to the heart of it. You had to ask the deep questions and get to what the song is about right away. And that's why I think people should do similar things. You know, leave, go for a week somewhere, say, I'm going to record and do this in a week, and then it's done. Pretty much. I mean, we have some other things we have to do, but like it's the core is done. Yeah. It's like you can't go back, and you can't be a perfectionist, and you can't nitpick and go crazy, and you just got to
chase goosebumps.
Move forward. Yes.
Sometimes, remember I said, it sounds good. You crying in key, right?
At least you're crying.
She's the
in
only
key.
person I know. You know, singing. You know, playing with choirs. They get flat when they emotional. She cries in key.
It's so funny.
No orders. When she cries in key,
well,
that's amazing. That's amazing. So, I guess to transition, you want to talk about the two songs we want to perform, or
yeah, sure. Give it up for Andre. From our background singers.
That boy good.
Guys, man, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Oh, it's bedtime right now.
Judah, that was perfect timing.
Yeah. But yeah, if you guys have any questions to ask, speak now or forever hold your peace. You're here till tomorrow afternoon?
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning.
I know. I'll be back. Be back in August.
Back in
August is the plan.
Yeah, August before you go for the gig.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's okay.
It's confidential.
It's confidential.
You guys have any questions? Feel free to ask.
Oh, this is actually from Ukraine. So I found out that my father's side of the family is Ukrainian, and so I had done this. Like, I wanted to do, like, I paid homage to, like, my heritage with my Irish ancestry and my Russian ancestry. So I was talking to my uncle, and he's like, well, actually, it's technically Ukraine, from Kiev. And so I went online, and I found all these different things from Ukraine, and I actually bought it right before the war started. And the woman that I had bought it from, she was like, thank you so much, because we needed this. Like, it was just the bizarre timing of it that it, like, got here. Like, had already been shipped right as things, like, were getting shut down there. So, yeah, I got it on Etsy, and, like, I don't know if they're up and running, but I was like, I'm going to buy a bunch more shirts from you. So when it's the right time. So, yeah.
Personally, who was your favorite child actor you grew up with that you still keep in contact with anybody from any of your shows?
Well, I knew Natasha Lyonne when we were kids, and I really love all the work that she's doing right now. Yeah, she has this new show called Poker Face, which is so good. It's like crazy good. It's like all those old detective shows that you liked when you were a kid, but it's like new. Yeah. But we haven't talked in a long time. Alicia Keys and I went to high school together. I haven't seen her in a long time. I can't think of anybody else right off the top of my head.
How was she in high school? Was it the same way, or she was kind of like?
Oh, she was so sweet. That's always been who she is, and she was very like everyone. She had a solo. I still remember what her solo was in this one song. That our vocal major teacher, Aziza Miller, who was an incredible jazz pianist, an amazing songwriter, and she wrote this song and the choir sang it, and Alicia had a solo, and every time Alicia would go, they'd be like, Alicia! Like, she definitely had, like, everybody knew her voice was, special. Cool. That's cool.
I have kids. What would you recommend for, I want to kind of put in lines of how my kids model. I don't know. What would you recommend or not? Like, I don't know. Like,
I think when they're like really young and they don't know what's going on, it's okay. But I'm a big fan. I am not a big fan of putting kids in the industry, just because I think that it sets up a mindset of like winning and losing too soon, and not in a way that it's like you win with a team. It's like you just are winning on your own. And I think like things that I could have gained from like being in, my boyfriend always says like, you didn't grow up with any sports, so that's why you're so competitive. Like if you were actually more in sports, you would be less competitive because you understand that you're more used to winning and losing, And so because of acting was like, I saw a movie that if I was in that movie, all of these things could have happened. And because it didn't, I lost out on all this world of like experience, because I knew every time I booked a job, I would get a toy. That was my one thing I could get. I get one doll. So it was like I couldn't get a doll if I didn't get it. But also I wouldn't get to have all the fun that I know that you have. So I think it's like a very delicate, I tell all of my friends, my family, like wait till they're 12. That's like my thing, because those first 7 years are such important years. Their brain is really picking up on all the information, and I know as a kid that I felt a lot of that the weight of not feeling validated by experiences, and that definitely set me up to need more external validation than that it took me years to kind of work on to validate my own self. And I still have to work on it. We all do, because now we have social media and there's all these other layers. I always say, like, thank God I wasn't a kid with social media, because I feel very thankful, but I do think it's something to be really super mindful, with kids, because like so many kids are on media, they're little kids and I think it's different because I think it's always just the parent, no matter what. Like, my parents were not showbiz parents, and they did the best that they could. They would always say, do you want to go to the park, or do you want to go to an audition? And I'd want to go to the audition because I'd see my friends at the audition, or, like, there were things that were important to me about it. But I think it always is like how you deal with the relationship to whatever that external thing is. Because some kids get really excited about, like my niece is in cheer. And there's a whole kind of crazy culture with cheerleading culture. So I don't know how positive that is sometimes too. So you have to it's always the way the parents handle it, I think. But that's, my little 2 cents.
I have like 2 questions in one.
Okay.
Well, one thing that you answered a lot of like questions, explained a lot of things about yourself in a way of like you see it through film, or the way you look at film helps you get through it. That's half of it. Second one is we all have to, just like with the song, we have to find our resolve. It just doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. So for you, how did you find your resolve in your journey? And also, when did you start to see yourself in the storyline of a film and then start using that to get through everything?
My resolve. Well, I still think I'm looking for it. I think it's our whole lives we're doing that. I think I may have I think after my dad passed, it shifted everything. My childhood home was gone. I had to sell my father's home. It was in the middle of the height of the pandemic. So I think when you go through deep grief and deep trauma, it unleashes, and it was weird because it was almost like there were times after that where I almost felt like euphoric. It's a very confusing feeling to feel so sad and also feel so enlightened at the same time. Like, I feel like I was given such a gift by his passing, and I think it made me look at any hardship as this like opportunity to experience grace. So I feel like even though I think there's a lot of parts of my life that I don't feel resolved in at all, and I think it's like, or there's things that I've accepted now about my journey that I'm like, oh, it didn't happen then. Is it still gonna happen? But like ultimately what brings me joy is staying present in like what is already given, and I do think hardship and struggle does balance it out in a way for you to start to see like, oh wow, I'm just gonna enjoy the sun today. Like, I'm just going to enjoy the cool water, like the tiniest little things. I don't know if that answers it, but in terms of the film thing, I think it was because I started making my own videos. I went to film school when I was a freshman in film school. So I left New York and I went to Temple in Philadelphia. And so I'd already had written scripts and stuff, and my mom gave me my dad gave me a camera, and I was making little films and stuff in high school. And so then I started to just love the video medium. And then eventually, I stopped doing that. But then it came back, and I was like, oh, I'm going to make videos for every song. It's going to be my chance to be my film director side into that. And so then it became then it will feel complete. Like, it didn't feel complete until there was a visual element to the sound that I created. And then that just started to just become, whether it was just like a picture or me hiring an artist to just make a graphic for it that loops or something, I just needed to feel like the two were together to feel like it was a completion. Because I think I also, being the actor of well, I want to be starring in things that I'm not starring in, so I'm going to just make a music video where I star as that. I'm just going to I made this video that was like the movie Hair, because I always wanted to be in Hair, and I was never in Hair. So I was like, I'm going to make a music video like it's Hair. I was just and I think that's the resiliency part. That's part of the resolve, I think, is going, I'm just going to go make something. And through the making, it's and it's not for anyone else. And I did start to feel a little, after a while, I would make videos and I'd put them on Instagram or I'd put them on YouTube, and I'm like, oh wow, 300 views. Isn't that cute? Like, nobody's watching my heart. And that was so painful. And I'd be like, how do you not see this? Like, look, guys. And so in the last 7 months, I said, I'm not going to do that. So the next videos I do, the next album I put out, I'm going to do it only for the people who want to become a part of my journey. And I started a Patreon. And that has now shifted because I have all these strangers that I've met through the internet that are like literally help me come here. They help pay for my gas. You know, they help pay for the recording session because they pay me every month. And so now I give them, so I don't post all day on Instagram. I post to Patreon, the people that are like really actively supporting me. And that shifted something because it created a more like empowered feeling, because it is hard to like waft through the content that is the internet, you know, and feel like you're going to get seen. But I really believe that, like, right now I have 22 people that support me every month. And if I focus on them, you know, and I really end the relationship, because now it's gone beyond, they come to my shows, they travel from Rhode Island, you know, they send me messages every day if I'm going through a tough time, they share with me what they're going through, and it's all of a sudden it's a community. And I'm like, oh wow, just because I offered and I said, you know what, I'm not just gonna give it out. Like, I'm gonna shift the energy, you know. And it's not like a lot of money, but it's something. It's like it's more than it was. It's more than it was. It was nothing before, you know. So I do think it's about like nurturing a small community in artistry is helping me see what we can create that's beyond this idea of like, you know, this higher echelon that we think we need to be a part of, as long as we're like affecting people, I think, you know. Of course.
Yourself on track and not let the noise of the world and like social media kind of put a dampener on you?
Well, I took TikTok off my phone recently, although it was helpful at times. I will say I learned some things on TikTok. But yeah, I've lessened my involvement on Instagram, and on another level, I'm kind of like I think of my religious life or spiritual life as like a hodgepodge of things. So like, I may read A Course in Miracles that talks about Christ's teachings, and then I'll do like a Kundalini Kriya yoga chant for like 90 days every day to open up my heart. You know, like I'll do different, you know, there's some people that are like, I have a friend who does the same thing every day, every morning, every night. And I'm like, that's amazing. I maybe could do that for a month, but then I rebel. And so I've started to learn that I'm just different and I need different things. So it's the same thing with workouts. I'll do the same workout for a month and then I'm like, now I want to try something else, you know? So I think it's like understanding that, like I am with my music. It's the same way. It's just who I am. And working with myself instead of trying to make myself like something else. Like, as long as it's a consistent connection, deepening versus like a rigid, like you have to do, you know? But I definitely think it's like that private time is huge for me. That solo time, that deep, like whatever, if it's meditation, if it's prayer that day, or if it's journaling or whatever it is. And yeah, getting off the phone. Thanks for your question.
Give it up for Bridget Barkan.
Thank you.
This was awesome.
And just so you know that those stickers that are me on the cover of the Bluebell ice cream box, I actually am on the cover of the Bluebell ice cream sandwich box. Like, it's a real thing. Like, that's me.
Where can we find it? Like Walmart?
I guess they're here because they're not in New York. They're only in the South and like in the West. So like, it found out like 10 years ago, someone sent me a picture of it. And I was like, also, I didn't, you know, model for Bluebell. They somehow bought my photo from like somewhere, and they like superimposed me in that box. So
you got the bag coming. You got to get it.
One day we'll see. But my website is on there, and also there's the Dear Stranger buttons and stickers too, so you can stay in touch with me and we can be friends.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again,